The Kristaps Porzingis trade was considered one of the worst trades of the deadline by many. People hated the trade for the Mavericks and felt they gave away Porzingis for nothing, and that it wasn't a good trade for them. Everyone started thinking the Mavs were pushing away Luka and that they aren't doing a good job of building around him. Which is true to a certain extent, but I don't think the Porzingis trade was a bad trade at all. I don't necessarily think it's a great trade or that the Mavericks won the trade, but I can very confidently say that this wasn't a bad trade for the Mavericks, and here's why. Let's get into it.
They be like, what? Can you teach me how to dirty? You know why? Cause all the bitches love it. All I need is a beat that's super bumpin'. And for you to back it up and dump it.
Leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I drop regular NBA content, and with the NBA season going on, this should interest you. And with the playoffs coming up, this should interest you. So do subscribe to the channel and make sure you stay till the end so you don't miss out on anything. Let's get on to the video. Kristaps Porzingis is a very interesting player. I always felt like the idea of Porzingis was better than the player itself. Theoretically, he's this unicorn player who stretches the floor and protects the rim at a very high level with that frame. But in reality, he's an inconsistent defender and an inconsistent shooter who is below average in most other aspects of the game. A lot of it has to do with the fact that he can never really stay healthy. I don't want to blame him for his injuries, but he has been injured very constantly. This doesn't really let him improve because both defense and shooting have a lot to do with rhythm, and he can never get into a rhythm when he's injured. He goes into most off seasons injured and spends an immense amount of time trying to get healthy, which doesn't let him spend enough time working on improving his game because all the time is spent on rehab. He has missed more than 40% of their games in the last 3 years and has just never been able to stay on court for them when it matters. Even when he was on the court, the fit between him and Luka was never really perfect. We saw a very brief glimpse of what it could be in the bubble playoffs, but we never really saw that take off since then. He was being restricted to a spot-up role in the Mavs' heliocentric offense around Luka, and Porzingis has made it clear that he doesn't like that a lot. The archetype of Porzingis as a player and the mentality of Porzingis is more of a second star than a complementary piece. He wants his post touches, he wants more self-creation touches, and he wants to do more than just stand and shoot, which is fair to a certain degree, but it's also very unrealistic because he just hasn't been playing at that level since he has come onto the Mavs. Even though he's been having one of his best years in his career and has looked like more of Porzingis recently, the Mavericks have been statistically better without him on the court. The team has always been better with only Luka on the floor without Porzingis and guys who complement Luka than they are with both Luka and Porzingis on the floor. There was also always constant chatter between Luka and Porzingis. And I don't think it's a coincidence at all that the Mavs are 7-3 without Porzingis in the last 10 games and Luka is averaging 36, 11 and 9 on great efficiency. The trade was never about getting Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. It was about getting rid of Kristaps Porzingis. He was an overpaid injury-prone player who wasn't the second star they had hoped for and they needed to move on. He was supposed to be a ceiling raiser for this team, who was never healthy enough to raise their ceiling. They're just as good with or without Porzingis. There's not much to say about their return. Bertans is a shooter who can't shoot anymore. I have a little confidence that he'll get his shooting touch back because Luka is like the best 3-point shot generator of all time arguably. But again, the trade was never about Davis Bertans. Dinwiddie in my opinion is just an insurance for Jalen Brunson. Dinwiddie has not been great all year, but there is a small chance that he can rejuvenate his career again, and there have been good flashes in the game he has played so far for what it's worth. Brunson, there's a slight possibility that Brunson might leave in free agency, so Dinwiddie is somewhat like an insurance for that. In my opinion, the trade which looks worse in hindsight is the initial Knicks trade. It just didn't work out the way they had hoped for, and now they were forced to get rid of Kristaps Porzingis. They've been shopping him for quite a while now, and the only ones who actually wanted him were the Wizards, who convinced themselves Beal and Porzingis are going to be a good duo in the future. Both Davis Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie's contracts are only 1 year longer than Porzingis' contract, but are much easier contracts to get rid of than Porzingis' contract was. So the point I'm making is the trade isn't nearly as bad as people made it out to be. And if there's any trade made by the Mavs you want to be pissed about, it's the initial Knicks trade and not the current Wizards trade. And even the initial Knicks trade didn't look this bad initially. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.